Hey, welcome back, everybody. It's time again for Health Talks with Dr. Trihn. The one show, maybe the only show, that shows you how to live a healthier life and introduces you to the people that are, including our hero of the day, Dr. Trihn. Welcome, sir.
Hey, guys. No, not really a hero. More like a tongue out guy sticking his tongue out.
Well, you've got some heroes here. If you're not the hero, then you've got some. But I hear they're supposed to be masked heroes. They're supposed to have masks on. This is supposed to be like superheroes. You never see the superhero's total face. There's always a mask.
Awesome friends I want to introduce you to. An awesome organization that was born out of the pandemic. And
so go ahead, bring them in. Who are they?
Yes, Salim and Jay. Jay, you're up at UC Berkeley, right?
I go to school at UC Berkeley, but I'm here for at least a semester.
Okay, awesome. And Salim, you're over at, is it Fullerton or Irvine?
Yes, yeah, I'm a third-year business student at Cal State Fullerton.
Yeah. So tell us about Mass Hero Initiatives. I know you guys are in several universities and UCs. And
Mask Hero, like a masked man.
Like a
mask Hero Initiative, right? All right.
Exactly. Yeah. So, well, thank you, Mr. Roberts, and thank you, Mr. Trihn, for having us here. It's really a true honor.
Mr. Roberts was my father, and he long since passed away, so you can just call me Paul. That's all right.
Okay. That's fair. Yeah. So, I'm J. Kim Turner. I am the founder and president of the Mass Heroes Initiative. And I started this organization last April when the COVID-19 pandemic was very much in the beginning stages, very much really impacting communities across not just Orange County or California, but throughout the country. And, I was sitting home one day and, I was watching the news, as I do nearly every night with my father. And I was thinking, well, I just wanted to do a small part or anything I could to help our community get out of this mess, and in whatever way or shape I could. So I thought that trying to donate masks when PPE was in a big shortage was going to be the way to do it. I never really expected MHI to grow as it did now. I expected me to make maybe just a few donations to a few hospitals, and that would be kind of it. But if you had told me back then that it would be what it is now and that I would be here with Salim, I would have thought you were crazy. So that's kind of how it all started, and now we're here over a year later.
Wow.
And what do you do?
Yeah, so I kind of help facilitate things.
Well, let's start with what the initiative does. Let's back up a second. What do you do as Mask Hero Initiative?
Yeah, so Mass Heroes basically is a nonprofit charity that donates equipment to various hospitals and nursing homes and different healthcare centers throughout our community. We've donated thousands and thousands of units of personal protective equipment throughout Southern California, throughout California in general, and frankly across the country. And what we do is we contact these centers and we ask them what their equipment needs are, and we do everything we can to make sure that that happens, and we deliver the donations to them. So that's kind of what the organization does.
And how do you get all this stuff?
Yeah, so we mostly do it through fundraisers and kind of just doing some, grassroots fundraising. We understand that because we're kind of confined to our homes, we're kind of limited in our options, but, we have a great team who does a lot of fundraising work and have a lot of creative ideas and how to raise money. And how to motivate the community. It's not just about, giving money to. So
give us some examples. How do you raise money in a world where we can't get together and get them all liquored up here?
Yeah. So the biggest thing that we do is social media driven fundraisers. And so, whether that be kind of doing it on Instagram or on Facebook, we've been doing a lot of donations where, people who join MHI say, hey, I'm a new member of MHI. It'll be really great, for friends and family to kind of help out. It's going to a good cause. That's kind of been our main source of fundraising. But we've also done other things. Salim, he's very much led some of these efforts. For Valentine's Day, we've done some, bracelet grams.
Nice.
Right now, we're doing a Mother's Day fundraiser through a C's Candies fundraiser. So if you
Sign
want
me
to,
up, C's Candy.
She's
yeah.
candy,
So
yeah.
if you want to get something for mom on Mother's Day, make sure you get something through our fundraiser through C's Candies.
And another thing that's very interesting in the sense of ways that we've been able to be creative with our marketing and fundraising, we do a lot of crowdsourcing in the sense of using everybody's network, everybody that's involved with MHI, networks that are already existing with other organizations, and partnerships has been a huge part of that. Recently, we did a partnership with one of the academic fraternities on campus at Berkeley, which raised several $100s in the sense of having people post on their social media, hey, they post a checkerboard and there's little circles on them with numbers in it. If you donate me $1, I'll cover a circle with your name. Let's try and fill out this board. And we had several people post that because one of the things about MHI that's very unique is that we started from a GoFundMe page way back when in April, but now we're established at many different schools, and we offer dozens of students the opportunity to work for the community, to do fantastic things virtually from home. That was a huge thing back in April, that you didn't have the opportunity to go to fundraisers, go to places where you'd be able to directly help the community. And we wanted to be able to provide that opportunity through a sophisticated platform. And people are able to do that by using their social media network in creative different ways to fundraise. Or now recently we're thinking of doing a matching donation in the sense of best being able to help support the community and best being able to incite donations. We do lots of raffles and giveaways where we buy an item, put it up on our social media, and try and get people to bid on it, and we usually end up getting much more. And that's how, and it's very difficult in the sense of traditional fundraisers. It's a lot easier to do whether you're selling something, you're providing a service, but we've just been able to adapt to the modern times in the sense of trying to think of awesome ways. I can't tell you how many times we've been in a Zoom meeting just like this one, trying to rack our heads in the sense of how can we find money? How can we find new ways to donate? All those sort of things. But I feel like a lot of the different creative talent that we have on our team at all these different schools is what has allowed us to do that, which is just a fantastic opportunity for us, I feel.
All right, and I got to ask one question here, and you're going to laugh, but in previous years, we've heard your generation are slackers. They're just surfing on the couch here. They don't get up and get involved. They're not protesting in the streets like I did in the 60s. They're not creating mass movements, but you're doing it in different ways. Why? Why not just sit home and go, hey, nothing I can do about this?
Well, I think that kind of mentality is something that is not, inevitable. It's a chosen thing. Just like how we chose to do Mass Heroes Initiative. We could have definitely made a choice and said, hey, let's just focus on school. Salim and I are both very busy people. And we can just say, hey, we have a bit too many things to do, and let's just, focus on that. And, hopefully the pandemic will be over.
Right.
Or we can actually go out and do something to help contribute to, stop the pandemic, to end the pandemic. So I just thought it was really important to make sure that we make our choices to help and give back to the community, because not one person can do everything, but everyone can do something. And so that's kind of how the organization was founded, and that's why we're here.
And I think another thing too is if we're gonna do stereotypes on generations, one thing about mine that I can definitely agree with is we love seeing the immediate results, the immediate gratification, whether it's on TikTok and the 5-second videos. And one of the things about MHI where I immediately saw a result is a donation that we did where we assembled care packages for frontline workers, where we were able to fundraise money, buy little gifts and things like that, and give a direct thank you for people that have been able to help the community. And seeing the impact that had, immediate self-gratification in the sense of what we're doing, why we like doing it, and the ability to do that from home, the ability to do that in a world where it feels like you're just stuck in your own box, where your bedroom suddenly becomes your office and your classroom all at once. Having the ability to impact the community in such a way has been incredibly fulfilling. And that's what we always try and tell people when we get them involved with our mission.
The most articulate answer I've ever heard to that.
I was a recipient of one of those care packages.
Were
It
you?
was-
Okay.
yeah.
It was such a small world. And then we ended up meeting in another totally different way about 2 months later.
Well,
Yes.
Dr. Trihn brings on people. You've got like your tongue out clubs, UC Irvine and some other places where young people like yourselves are dispelling the notion that you're just self-absorbed, wrapped in your own world, in your own bedroom, playing on your Xbox here. You're isolated and not interested in the world. And I love that answer, because what you're saying is that even in this self-absorbed world, as we get more and more closed in, we're more and more, I don't go meet people. I just talk to them on that little screen. I don't actually have friends. I just have virtual friends, you know. They might as well be robots I'm talking to here. In that world, you get an immediate response. Something happens. You threw it out there and something happened. What was it like when you set I want to talk through that early moments. All right, hey, this is a cool idea. Dude, and I'm sure you said dude because everybody in your generation says dude every other word.
California, of
That's
course.
right. Hey, dude, let's do this. And then something happened. You that moment of birth. Tell me about that. We'll start with Jay here.
Yeah.
When it came alive, when it became from an idea to, dude, let's try this. Let's put up a site. Let's do something. And people responded. Yeah.
So it was the minute I pressed that GoFundMe page, that launched a GoFundMe page, where I thought, hey, let's see if something sticks. So what I actually did was actually direct message maybe 500 people on Instagram, people I haven't talked to since middle school or elementary school. These are teachers who I haven't had since maybe the 2nd or 3rd grade. And it was honestly just, I didn't expect a whole lot of responses, but so many people were so enthusiastic about not just, giving to my cause, but, actually motivating me to say, hey, why don't you expand this a little further? They're all asking me to see how, just go for it.
Don't just raise $50 and pass out 50 masks here. See if you can go bigger here, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I think in the first month alone, I think I raised close to $1,500.
Wow.
And I think almost a third of that, if not more, went from teachers alone that I had for the past 10 years. And I think that really just shows, first of all, teachers are one of the mass heroes in our community. They really do care about students, and they really do care about the next generation. But also just how much everyone was so supportive and, dedicated and just all willing to work together for such a good cause. And so it just kind of gave a whole momentum from there. And then obviously Salim kind of came, I think a few weeks later. Salim saw the potential in what we're doing, and he said he wanted to do his part to help out, and that's how we're here.
So Salim, what was it like for you when it started to come?
Man.
The monster started to, it's alive, to go back to the old Frankenstein image. It's alive.
If I had to pick my Frankenstein moment with MHI, I'd have to say it was the moment it became something larger than just a group. The moment it became from a group to an organization. And that moment was exactly when we decided that we wanted to open up a different school. So to set the scene a little bit, it was a sense of, we were about maybe 4 to 5 students at different universities, right? And then we had grown to around 10 to 15 just by asking some of our friends, hey, this is a project we're working on. We're growing quite a bit. We would like to get some more involvement. If you want to get a little bit hands-on, it's all right, low commitment, just sort of come here, send out some emails, join our meetings. We have them once a week, once every 2 weeks. It's not a big deal, right? And then one of these days we were like, what if we just, instead of being an organization made up of students from different schools, what if we were an organization that was set up at different schools, right? We all come from a variety of background, whether it's USC, UCLA, UC Berkeley, my institution, right? What if we set up a club or an organization at each one of these schools? And what if we started recruiting individually at these schools so we can get some different members at each of these schools, right? And it went from 15 to 20 to 25 to 40 to 45, and it started growing and growing. But that moment, in the sense of, whoa, we like, what, this is a good idea and all, but that planning in the sense of when we first decided to do that, are we going to stretch ourselves too thin? Are we going to have enough to do? What are we getting these new people for? How are we going to onboard them? We had a very long Zoom call. We had a document up on the screen. We were sharing it. We were writing down bullets and comments, concerns, ideas, things that people were excited about. And after about an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours of just going at it, at the end, we had this plan in the sense of what we were going to do, how we were going to do it, why we were going to do it. And it was at that moment, looking at that, we were like, okay, this is going to be big. This is going to have some potential. This is going to be able to do quite a bit of things. And since then, it's been tens of thousands of units of PPE that we've been distributing across, variety of organizations, small businesses, other nonprofit charities, the Salvation Army, all these fun things. But that was the moment that we just became a small little group of friends that were doing some cool stuff in the community to trying to incorporate as a charity and trying to open up at different institutions and host these recruiting events and have these new structured teams and position titles and all that sort of stuff. That was a breakthrough moment.
So let's talk about, now you got some money, you got some momentum, but you got to go out and find this stuff. And you got to create, did you create a 501c3? You went through the legal requirements and all that. I mean, there's some steps you got to take. It's not all fun and games. At some point you got to take action. Talk about that, yeah. Jay, or let's jump back to Jay here. How did you find, okay, so I got some money. That doesn't mean I can go find any of this stuff. It's scarce.
Yeah, so, initially we had just found different ways to get the PPE. We know that it was really, it was a really scarce resource, like you said. So we had to be really, really creative. And ultimately we found now a reliable supplier.
It's not the little old lady Dr. Trihn had on who was making masks at home and cranking them out. I couldn't believe that story either way. But what was her name? What was her name, Dr. Trihn? I forgot her name. She was sitting at home. Literally, she taught herself to sew and went and got a machine. And she's like, yeah. I'm retired. I'm just going to start sewing masks and see how many I can make. And then other women came over, and pretty soon they got a sewing club, and they're cranking these things out. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And the community is so dedicated. I had a teacher who I had in the 2nd grade who sat at home and I think sewed 300 masks by hand.
Yeah.
Wow.
And just gave them to us. And so, and I had another person, I think the wife of a frontline worker. I think in June we got recognized by then Congressman Gil Cisneros. And she found us through his website and said, hey, I want to do my part in making some masks. So we got about 200 from her. So
wow.
Combined those together and made, a donation of 500, sewn masks to a nursing home in Anaheim, I believe. So
love it.
Yeah, really dedicated people.
Now, where do you go, Salim? Now the masks, we've moved past the main purpose, which was the masked people, the masked heroes needed to get a mask. You need to find a mask. You were the masked people behind the mask movement. I can do mask jokes all day long here. But we don't need masks as much as we need vaccines and other sorts of things, or education or motivation or whatever. Have you morphed into a different phase, or are you still just passing out masks?
That's an excellent question, and that actually segues perfectly into how we met Dr. Trihn in the sense of, I'll go ahead and describe a little bit. As a student at Cal State Fullerton, I'm a part of the Business Honors Program, and in the Business Honors Program, the seniors are a part of.
Why am I not surprised that you're in the Business Honors Program? I didn't think you were barely hanging in there in class and eating Cheerios and instead of going to lecture.
I always like to think that as my time as a student is distributed as such, it's 10% going to my classes and 90% going to meetings for different clubs, organizations, and such. Right. But Management 449, it's a strategy class. And in that class, the seniors of the program work with 360 Clinic in the sense of how they're going to be able to expand their services, the testing and vaccination services that they provide.
So let's stop for 1 second and let's make that clear to everybody here. Dr. Trihn's associated with 360 Clinic. Talk about that, Dr. Trihn. Linda, Wynn is on here talking about how working with you guys, and she's been on numerous times. Bring us into how 360 Clinic connected with these folks and what you're using them for.
Very similar to MHI, 360 Clinic was born out of the pandemic. An organization that is physician-led, minority-owned, and was created to help in the pandemic last year. 360 Clinic essentially partnered with the healthcare agency in Orange County, and so we had run the COVID test sites at the Anaheim Convention Center.
Trying to ramp up when they couldn't get testing anywhere. You guys came together and said, hey, let's see if we can go and create some test sites ourselves here.
Right. Orange County Fairground, and now over, I don't know, 40, 50 different sites throughout Orange County now with kiosks, and we're in San Diego, we're in Ventura County, we're pretty much all over the place.
And now you've moved from just simply testing, have you got it, to actually vaccinations? Yeah, right.
Yes, to vaccinations, and
particularly in hard to reach communities, Hispanic, Vietnamese, other communities that we talked about last week in the show.
Exactly, and MHI plays a big role as our partners and collaborators. We have been in discussions on how to get the word out.
So what you say that so casually, they play a big role. Like what? What do these kids who got together and said, hey, let's create an organization. Let's see what we can do. And all of a sudden they're doing it. How do you tap that enthusiasm and energy, and what do you hope to directly get out of it here?
Well, so as an organization where many of us like ourselves, like myself, who is not that, awesome at TikTok videos, or
come on, I saw your dance videos last week on there.
Or in getting the word out with, with social media and things of that sort. We've been in discussion regarding, how to get more folks in these discussions about perhaps, vaccination hesitation. How do you get the message out to the younger adults?
Yes.
Out there,
because these people have shown, like so many other young people, this is their second language. So if you want to go and speak this language, if you want to use these tools to engage people, take a lesson from what these kids did here. Kids, you're still kids to me here.
And MHI has played also a significant role in finding leads for 360 to go in and put a kiosk in different locations to either vaccinate or to do testing, and so we're very appreciative of the work that MHI is doing.
All right, so let's go back to Salim. I cut him off. So you've now trying to morph. Are you doing more than just passing out masks?
Yes. So we've got connected with 360 Clinic through this strategy class, who was helping them brainstorm their expansion, right? And when they were doing so, one of the people in that class realized, hey, Salim's in this program, and I think he's like running this nonprofit charity thing that's like helping people in the pandemic. Yeah. Maybe they would be able to help 360 Clinic in some way, right? So they let me know, and we were brainstorming. There was a way that our two organizations could mutually work together, right? And I had the idea, we have around 50 students. We have around 50 students that are contacting locations constantly that are in need of PPE, whether they're small businesses, whether they're clinics, whether they are retirement homes, nursing homes, right? And these are all fantastic locations for setting up testing and vaccination sites. So we already had an exhaustive network that we had collectively built up over the past couple months by donating. And in the sense of when we found out 360's mission was to make sure that testing was made equitably all parts of the community, we thought, hey, this is a fantastic initiative. How can we help you guys do that? Outreach is a tremendously difficult thing to do. Even providing an excellent service, it's how can you get it in front of people, whether it's setting up in high traffic areas where people are constantly walking back and forth, or high population areas that people have access to, all of these sort of things. And what we had done is we went through our email list, we started reaching out to them, hey, we're recently establishing this partnership with 360 Clinic. Would you be interested in a testing or vaccination site? And we sent out emails, dozens and dozens and dozens of them. And whenever we got back a lead, we would connect the two together and something would happen. That's what we've been doing. That's what we like doing. And another thing aside from that as well, Dr. Trihn was talking a little bit about marketing and all those sort of things. We put together a presentation about different ways. We looked at 360 Clinic from the bottom up, whether it's analyzing their social media already, whether it's looking at their YouTube platform and how they upload their resources. And we put together a presentation. We brought some of the people from our team to give it, and we gave some amazing ideas on how they can better reach people from our population group, our age group, how they can expand some areas of improvement they could have in order to reach some marginalized communities, all these fascinating things. And I think the way that we're able to do that is we have the brain power of 50 individuals at across 9 different schools thinking together. We had a numerous brainstorming session. We have dozens of emails that we can send out.
But these are millennials. They're slackers. They don't work that hard. They've an attention span of a gnat. They stick with something for 5 minutes here. Before we go any further, everybody's requesting Dr. Trihn get a little closer to the mic. I think he's too far away from his mic here. So let's try that and see if we can get his volume up here. In the meantime,
my pajamas here.
Yeah.
With that, awesome. Yeah, but definitely 9 schools you're in right now. That's incredible.
Give us a quick list. What these are all Southern California schools here, or California
Actually
schools?
not. So it's not just Southern California. So we're at 7 UCs and 2 Cal States. So the Cal States are Cal State Fullerton, which Salim's in, Cal Poly Pomona, and the 7 UCs are UCLA, UC San Diego, UC Irvine, UC Santa Barbara, UC Davis, UC Berkeley, and UC Riverside.
And what does the club do? Its motivation is now what? Not just to get mass, but to do what? Are you trying to? Do you have a new mission? Are you on a new mission? Are you looking for a new mission? Are you morphing into another phase of your existing mission? Where are you at these days?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. So, obviously, since we're not just focused on getting masks and other PPE, obviously that's not much of a problem anymore.
Right.
We're transitioning now more into how can we actually change the way we talk about healthcare. And that comes through a variety of things. We know that, as Dr. Trihn said, as 360 was also minority-led, that healthcare disparities are still really a problem in minority communities. And so that's kind of the discussion that we want to facilitate. Exactly what are those problems? How can we do, and what can we do to make sure we close that gap? So that's one of the things.
I'm going to stop you right there for a second. So you really hit something that we got to dive into. That's what we talked about last week on this show. 360 Clinic is going into, as the popular term is, underserved, places where people aren't putting a priority and an emphasis. And we talked a great deal about with the people who are getting in there. And I hate to say this, Dr. Trihn, they weren't real sure why people are hesitant. It was kind of all of the above. Here's some of the things that we kind of summarized, and I'd be curious to get some feedback from your audience here too. Why these communities are underserved, hard to reach, hard to vaccinate. And one is simply access. There's not a lot of places and spaces for them to go. One is, it sounds simple, but transportation. They may not be able to drive or get there or whatever. The third is the harder one, though, that I don't think people want to wrap their head around, is there may be some cultural resistance to coming forward. I'm in the Hispanic community, and maybe I'm here legally, maybe I'm not. I'm in other communities where I came from Vietnam, and I don't trust the government so much. I don't know if I just kind of lay low and stay out of sight. Or Arab American communities, I don't want to come out because Arab Americans aren't too popular in America right now. There are cultural reasons, and then there's language. I just don't get it. I don't understand it. I'm on the edge of mainstream society. I'm not in the middle of it, so I don't get mainstream media and other sorts of things. Have you guys got out there and got any feedback? Because I don't think we've identified the problem yet. What is it? All of that, some of that, or am I missing some things that keep these communities? If the assumption is it's just simply money and effort, so we just have to arrive in these communities and hooray, we're there and we'll fix it. I'm not so sure it's that easy.
I would add 3 things to those lists before I pass it on to someone else. The first one being fear of the unknown. I feel like that there's a lot of information out there and it's very difficult to compile and put together. And a lot of underrepresented communities are families that are working full time, running 2 different jobs, running a household with several different kids who, by the way, are no longer able to go to school. So they're at home all the time. And it's very difficult in the sense of where to get your information, how to get it, what's true, what's not true, which leads perfectly into the second point, which is susceptibility to information and misinformation. In the sense of, I'm sure you've seen some just ridiculous posts on Facebook or all this sort of things about false science, pseudoscience, and it's hard to separate things sometimes.
And of course, Dr. Trihn has made it clear that the vaccine is really there. It's a hidden purpose to implant little chips in all of our arms. It's not, we know that. He's made that clear. This is not about vaccinations.
Talk to me every night.
I do. He goes on.
This vaccine, right? Every night, he's like telling me, giving me instructions. And,
Right. This is our Son of Sam moment here. We're all being giving instructions, and it's coming to us in our head here, and we don't know it's from the vaccine. Go ahead. Misinformation. That's a big part of it.
And it's a huge part in the sense of being able to tackle that stigma right off the bat. One of the biggest things is when you're trying to provide a service or sell a product, whatever it be, consumer facing or not, if you're fighting against the people who want to buy your product, right off the bat, you're not in a good position. You want them to be on your side, right? You want the person buying the Big Mac to be hungry. You don't want them to be full. How are you going to sell them a Big Mac if they're full? How are you going to be able to provide?
And you want a Big Mac that looks like it's a pile of vomit or putrid mess here, and people go, yuck, I don't want that.
It's a huge barrier. It's a huge barrier. And then the last one is segregation, in the sense of where are these services offered and how to make people feel comfortable going to get them. If it's going to be on another side of town in a hospital that they can't ever go for, whether it's lack of insurance, lack of familiarity, lack of convenience even, these are very popular, very busy communities, and that's another thing too. Just having these services and these facilities being offered in areas that aren't like very common in the sense of very common where things have been offered to in the past.
I like the first
major hospital.
I like the first 2 that you talked about, because we talk a lot about in the show, and we're continually scratching our heads when we get off the air, how real people have really crazy ideas about all this stuff here floating in their heads here. And I suspect that the immigrant communities are just as susceptible to it, or maybe even more, because of misinformation. They're just getting it secondhand. They're not getting it from the sources, perhaps. So let's talk about that a little bit, because I don't think we understand how to handle that. The assumption is, okay, I'm going to go into the Vietnamese community, the Hispanic community, the Philippine community, the Persian community or something, and we're just going to rally the resources. We're going to make it easy. We're going to get out and educate them. We're here. We're going to speak their language. We're going to use influencers to make it available. We're going to make it easy to find. We're going to make it affordable. All this stuff. And when we arrive, the crowds come and say thank you, like Dr. Trihn's tongue out work. When he arrives in the village goes, hooray, finally somebody's here to take care of these things. I'm not so sure and I'm not sure why, but I'm not sure any of these groups are instantly welcoming. When is it just because they look like me and they scatter when they see me come into the community or whatever? Or is it misinformation, or am I misinformed? And no, when we get there are lines to use this. Talk about that, Dr. Trihn. What do you think? Do we have to fight some sort of stigma to this whole thing?
I think one of the things.
We can't hear you again.
Yeah, I think one of the things we've talked about as a potential solution is
we're still struggling. You're cutting out on us there. Here.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Get a little closer. Let's see if we can get you closer.
Maybe Bill Gates doesn't like what I'm going to say.
I think somebody's cutting. There's an interference. There's a dial, because we know they're all listening, and they just.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
All right.
So I think a few things we've kind of brainstormed with. Number one is to partner with organizations that are already embedded in the community.
Right. They know them, they trust them, they listen to them. Right.
So Latino Health Access, right? An organization that's embedded in the Hispanic community. So you go and you partner with folks who are already trusted in the community. Number two is really to go where they are at.
Don't bring them out of the community, go into the community.
Go into the community and, go to the apartment homes. go to, the churches they go to, go to their community center, wherever they're at, go there, as opposed to ask them to come out to some hospital, right? So those are some brainstorming thoughts that we have had to kind of bridge this disparity. And
I hate to say that, everybody used to say, well, this is them. It's those communities. It's not us, mainstream America. I just read a report that one of the other groups that are resisting it is my tribe, the coastal aging baby boomers who think this is all nonsense and I ain't going to get it and I don't need it. And they're under vaccinating too because of all their fears and paranoia, or the paranoia they've been fed about this over and over and over again. There are lots of underserved communities. There are lots of targeted niches that do not that are resistant or not whatever, aren't signing up in the numbers we need to get herd immunity, right, Dr. Trihn?
Yeah, and I'm not even sure we'll get to herd immunity because
now they're saying that, yeah.
The latest report shows, at least 20 to 30% of Americans are hesitant to get the vaccine. And if you need, if you need 70% or more to get to herd immunity, and that percentage are the folks who don't want the vaccine, I'm not sure you'll get to herd immunity. You just got to keep vaccinating and hope that.
Somebody told me years ago in sales, kid, you confuse them, you lose them. I think we've confused a lot of people. That's what Dan Daly says here. Are we just simply so confused that we've tuned out? Good, bad, yes, no, up, down, mask, no mask, of this vaccine, that vaccine, this one's scary, this one's okay, blah, 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 blah. And everybody's just like, I can't hear anymore. I'm confused and I'm just tuning out. What do you guys think? We'll start with Jay. Is people just tuning out of this? We're too tired and we're too confused and too overloaded?
Yeah, and I think this whole pandemic has gotten us into just a fatigue. After a couple months, we're all doing Zoom sessions, Zoom classes. We're all sick of Zoom meetings. People kind of just got, people are just kind of, done with, they're over it. And so I think what you say about how, all this new information that's in, if it's not simple, if it's not, really easy to understand, it's really easy to tune out. And that's like that for any case. If it's super hard and it's confusing, it's just easy for you to get tuned out. And so I really do think it's more about making sure that we properly educate everybody, making sure that we have the tools and resources we have to properly inform our citizens and our members of our
So I'm going
community.
to stop you right there. That sounds so simple. And you're all elites. You're in schools. You're educated people. It all starts with the assumption education is all you need. Education is the free. Well, knowledge is power. Once you know, then you go, okay. But there is, in a world of social media and rampant conspiracies, how do you convince them that you're telling the truth, that this is the knowledge? Because that YouTube video I just says you're crazy. That TikTok video I just watched says that ain't true. And I don't know that I trust you and the doctors any more than I trust this, crazy person over here on YouTube.
You
go ahead.
You developed on something that's really, really crucial that I want to go back to that we already touched on is trust. And so one of the things that we brainstormed with 360 Clinic with Dr. Trihn is making sure that this misinformation thing, the thing that it goes down to is how well can we develop a relationship with these communities?
That's the key right there. If they trust you and like you and accept you, and then it's easy. Isn't that the same way when you go up into the highlands in Vietnam? Don't they distrust you? They distrust the government in these third world countries for good reasons.
Yeah, and which is why we partner with local organizations, whether we're in Vietnam or Haiti or Peru, with our missions trip.
You can't just show up in the van and say, we're here. In the old days, they used to say the Great White Hope, we've arrived to save the natives here. Yeah,
the local organizations have already built trust. And so we just go and plug in and provide our healthcare services. And yes, 100%, Jay, it's all about building trust. Trust first.
So you created trust within your a collegiate community. You created enthusiasm, and we trust you guys. You're not going to rip off with the money. You're not going to disappear and flake out if I get involved in this thing here. How do you then extend that trust to communities who don't know you, Salim? I don't know you. So you're going to walk into my little apartment village, my senior citizen community, my Philippine community, and I'm going to trust you any more than I trust anybody else?
It's a very difficult thing to tackle, a very tough issue in the sense of how to break down this mistrust. One of the common things is that I like to see is breaking down things in entertaining ways. So I remember one time when it comes to tackling misinformation, one of the suggestions we had for social media platforms or for campaigns is Mythbusters, in the sense of taking a myth that many people may have commonly heard and breaking it down in a logical manner, and then being able to present that argument very front forwardly with scientific backing and evidence, whether it's a small citation here and there. It's addressing those concerns right off of the bat and then beating them down in front of them to see, and then say, this is bad, this is good, this is bad, this is good. And that helps break down misconceptions.
And I'll tell you what, and for my, I'll join in, for this is just my anecdotal belief here, that you start with the assumption. You don't immediately say, you're stupid, that's wrong. Because immediately, if you question somebody's belief, it's like getting an argument. I say my wife's walking around here, but if I say, she has a tendency to approach these from an emotional standpoint, and I'm trying to be the logical person, I say, that doesn't make sense. And she said, well, that's what I believe. And the minute I say, you're wrong, then she says, oh, so I'm stupid. Nobody listens to me. You're so smart. You have to acknowledge, I understand why you feel that way, but let me show you. Like a little kid, I understand you're scared of the dark, but come on out. I'm not going to make fun of you. I'm not going to put you down. Come on out. Let me show you. It's not scary out there.
And sometimes things are just born in general confusion, whether it's the differing vaccine brands and what they do and how they're different, any of those sort of things. And that's why I feel like telling people that this is a common misconception, as opposed to you're wrong or anything along those lines. Or
you're foolish, you're silly, how dare you.
Exactly.
Yeah,
it's a great way of being able to sort of assuage concerns and then being able to propose solutions. You say.
And of course, when you go into most of these communities, you can't use words like assuage. I'm just telling you that. That's a college word.
Smooth.
Yes. Right. What do you think, Jay? Are we on the right track? Do we have to start by acknowledging their fears and saying, it's okay, I get why you're scared, but let me help you to understand why it's not scary out there?
Absolutely. This whole pandemic, and especially developing trust, like I wanted to go back to, it's not about us. It's about you. It's about each and every one of you and what you want to get out of this, how you want to get out of this pandemic, and how it's going to affect your lives. So having that positive approach is definitely crucial.
And I don't know that we go there. I'm sorry I keep jumping in and cutting you off here, but I don't know that we really go there enough. We are there to make I'm a public policy. Damn it, I'm going to make you do this because I don't care. I don't have time to explain it anymore. Just do the damn thing. Everybody's got to get vaccinated. I don't want to hear your fear and your concern. Just do it. And we get the doctor. I don't have 20 minutes to explain to you. Just take the damn shot and go on to the next one here. Do we have enough sympathy? Do we have enough time to misspell notions, or is time running out and we just got to start lining people up? Come on, move them. Let's go. What do you think, Dr. Trihn? Are we past the moment where we can pamper and talk to people and we just got to round them up and do this? Or that sounds horrible. That's like Big Brother, but let's go. There's an emergency. There's an earthquake there. I don't have time to explain to you. Let's go. Everybody out of the area here.
We have vaccinated everyone who wants a vaccine.
Yes.
It's available now everywhere. Right?
CVS has it, for Pete's sake. Yeah, right.
So what we are at now is there is a population of folks who don't want the vaccine because of a gap in trust. And so that is our challenge. That is our barrier to get to this herd immunity concept. So our mission is, how do you, as an organization, whether it's 360 or MHI, how do you bridge this gap of trust?
We're talking about trust and confusion. You confuse them, you lose them. And if they don't trust you, they stop listening. Or if they're overwhelmed, they stop listening. Too many people have stopped listening. I agree. We've reached everybody, the low-hanging fruit, the easy people who wanted it like me. But there's a heck of a lot of people like my sister-in-law who ain't ever going to take it. No way, no how. There are people that come into our studio. I won't shame them by shouting them out, and I'm stunned. And we have this conversation that say, don't need it, don't want it. Young people that I know of that say, not for me. Grandpa got it, good, but I'm young and healthy. I don't need it. What do you say to that one? You guys are young and healthy. How many people in your, or I suspect not many yet in these colleges have been vaccinated, or am I wrong? And everybody young has been vaccinated. What do you say, guys?
One thing I did want to mention that I think is important is the shotgun approach and making people get vaccines and forcing them to do it.
Yeah,
Just recently, the CSU system, which is what I'm a part of, is made up of around 400,000 students. It's it's the largest university system in the United States, and they recently released a statement saying, pending FDA approval, a vaccination will be required for in-person instruction.
Yeah.
So that
done asking you about it. You want to come to school, you got to have
exactly.
no shirt, no shoes, no service, right?
And I think the reasoning behind this is obviously because it's a logistical nightmare in the sense of who has vaccination, who will be on campus, required testing and identification and all these sort of things. It's a logistical nightmare, but it's also the fact of not making it convenient to say no, in the sense of if you don't want to get a vaccine, then that's fine, but you'll have to go through these steps. It encourages people to do the research, to look into it, and decide whether or not, redefine their decision in the sense of, if we're going to tie this to something, if we're going to tie this to something you enjoy doing, whether it's going out to a bar or international travel or going back to school, which is something that I feel a lot of people my age are just getting burnt out of, is this online instruction. If you want to go back to school, here's something you want. Meet me in the middle. I want you to do some research. I want you to think about it again, reevaluate your decision. And there's no other way to do that. If someone has made up their mind, in sales, a lot of the things is sometimes you can just see it in the other person's face, like, okay, they're not going to bite. You lose your ability to negotiate. You lose the middle ground. But if you take something away, it forces them to reevaluate. It recreates the middle ground. It recreates a boundary, a barrier. So I think tying it to things that people that want to do again is very important. I feel
Salim,
like
I am so with you, and you
don't
know what a bomb thrower comment that is, because now we're running up against, you can't tell me what to do. This is America, baby. I have my beliefs are just as valid as your beliefs. I don't care if you're a doctor, a researcher, a scientist. I just don't agree, and therefore I have the right to say no. Do we have the right to say no in a public health emergency? And before you all jump on me here, take a look at what happened with cigarettes. I used to own a bar in Mission Viejo called Kelly McHugh's, a very popular Irish pub with some other guys. And it was just another thing I did. And we were terrified when they said you can't smoke in bars after a certain area. Everybody smoked in a bar, it seemed like. The whole bar was filled with smoke. Our business is going to crash and burn. But we had no choice. We didn't want to go there. I did, because I don't smoke, and I found out there were a ton of people like me. We did lose some angry people. We did have some confrontations. We did have people storm around and say, F you, you take that cigarette out of my mouth, try and stop me from smoking. We had the defiant, we had the angry, we had the moments like that. But the rest of the people said, shut up and go outside. Just the community as a whole really embraced the idea in a way none of us expected of a smoke-free bar. If you really got to do it, go out there. But if you want to come in here with the rest of us, don't get your stinking smoke and make me sick just because the rights of the individual didn't outweigh the right of the group at that moment in time. Are we ever going to get to that moment? And it wouldn't be from government down. The government might start it, but it's got to be the community that would say, shut up and put your mask on. Come on, I'm with it. I'll support the restaurant if it's only 10 people are protesting outside. I'm going to come in anyway. You got to have a mask. Are we going to get to that moment in time, guys, here, or am I dreaming? I'll let anybody answer that one here. We'll start with Jay. He's looking very doubtful about this here. He's a university student. He doesn't want to see government come and oppressive people start mandating, but the universities are doing it, and other businesses are going to start doing it, I suspect, too.
Yeah, contrary to the belief, I know I go to Berkeley, so the average Berkeley reputation is, oh, we want the government and everything.
Radical.
The radical liberals and stuff of that nature. In 2021, we are so divided, and we don't speak to each other like we did maybe 10 years ago. Based on who we voted for, based on what we look like, based on what God we believe in. And so, my thing is to make sure that we respect everyone's diversity, but at the same time come together for the common good. And that means by encouraging people, that means by listening to people and not feel like you have all the answers, but rather you listen to people and their concerns. And you encourage that mandate, if you will, not force upon them, but let you do the persuading so that they can be inspired. And I think that's the right approach to go. I think that's what MHI is all about, is by inspiring other people and encouraging them rather than forcing them.
So that gets another 10% of the 20% down. But when we get to that stubborn last 10%, the motorcycle riders who refuse to wear a helmet because I'm free, baby. The people who said, I'm going to smoke on an airplane and nobody can tell me to say no. At some point, do we band together? What do you think, Dr. Trihn? I know you're not a proponent of this. Do we have to or is it businesses that will just start saying, I don't care. It's my own business. And
they're doing it now.
They can do whatever they want to do. I say business is going to do it for this. I had this debate with somebody the other day. It's not because they're wimps. It's not because they're giving in. It's because they're afraid of being sued. The whole thing motivating this is if you come in and get sick, you might sue me. I told you it was safe to work or to come in here, and you came in and got sick, and I'm the deep pocket in our litigious society, so I'm just going to take that off the table. You want to come into Target? You want to come into the university? You want to come into my concert? Let's not just because it'll make everybody feel safe, because then I'll feel safe and I won't get sued. What do you think about that, Salim? Is this just strictly a business money decision?
So many things to talk about here. I'm honestly, my mind is racing on all these sort of things. Could you repeat the question one more time?
All right. I say you're going to see businesses embrace this, whether the government does, and create passports, mandates. Show me your vaccine before you get on the airplane or come to school or maybe even come into my store. Not because they're bowing to public pressure and the political correct world and all the other stuff that people want to accuse them. It's money, baby. They don't want to get sued. And they're afraid if they let people in, I know it's a fact right now, whether they admit it or not, they don't let people come in because they're afraid if they say yes and you get sick, you'll sue me. You said it was okay to come in, and I did, and I got sick at your university, your school, your theater, your airplane. I'm suing you. So they're going to say, then screw you. Nobody comes in unless they're vaccinated. That's what I think is going to happen.
I would 100% agree. I think fear of litigation is a very valid incentive for people to take on certain policies. And I also think if I'm going to allude this to another example or another scenario, it's the go green, in the sense of a lot of people are selling eco products in terms of building a public image or a public face.
Right.
And whether or not they support these missions or not is out of the question. It's in the idea of you can tie our company, our movement with something new, something fresh, something
positive,
that's very good for the world,
popular.
Positive, exactly, right? And I feel like a lot of companies are going to be taking this approach in the sense of, yes, we make all of our workers wear masks because we're safe, and now our company
we care
is safe,
about
and now
them.
you should come. We care about you, exactly, right? So it's not just a fear
whether
of
they do or don't. We care about
exactly.
them.
And it's a lot of the things, and I don't think it's anything unknown to the business world in the sense of pursuing something that's profitable.
Yeah.
Pursuing something that's profitable, and profit isn't all about getting revenue. It's about reducing expenses, which is litigation. So it's all just factoring into that as well. And I 100% agree that that's going to be an approach for a lot of different places.
I suspect that will be the motivation. Government will be hesitant to do it because that's oppressive and ouch. But when the university says, sorry, that's just the way it is, because we love you and because we're afraid of you, because we think you're going to sue us, and because we just want to be positive and take care of everybody here, I think you're going to see more and more examples like that. And that's just going to end of discussion, like when they banned cigarettes. End of discussion. There's going to be a handful that'll fight and say tyranny, freedom, and the rest will say, shut up, Put your cigarette out.
And to add two different points, one thing I think is really important in a bunch of different communities. You mentioned something about motorcycle riders not wearing a helmet. I ride a motorcycle. I love riding a motorcycle. I'm super passionate. Super passionate about it. But in the motorcycle community, we do not. I would say we, as in if I represent the community, but I feel a large part of the community goes against riders who don't practice the activity safely. A large part of the community acknowledges that it's dangerous. And whenever we see someone without a helmet, even if I saw on the road without a helmet, you have no idea. I'd be honking my horn. I'd be telling them to pull over. Like this is horrible. And whenever we see people that aren't wearing protective gear or jackets or proper boots or gear, it's a thing that we do look down upon. It's like, whoa, you're not practicing safe like that. I don't agree with that. And it's not a matter.
And you're making it bad for all of us, buddy, because then they're going to crack down on everybody here.
Exactly, and it's that thing. And same with cigarettes, where I feel a lot of people my age now, cigarette smoking has been on the decline for the past couple of years on average in terms of popularity. A lot of us look at cigarettes, oof, cigarettes, oh man, those are bad for you. Like, we don't like those at all. And it's the change in image, right? And I feel like one of those things, one of the biggest drivers for that is media and entertainment, in the sense of we stopped airing commercials with cigarettes involved. Those Carl's Jr. ads, we stopped having the models smoke cigarettes on the screen and having people be media and entertainment. It played a huge role on that. And I feel like vaccinations is something that could be done as well. If we're talking about culture, trying to change stigma and all these sort of things, like seeing Lionel Messi get a shot. I saw that they were making news reporters get their shots live on CNN and all these fantastic news networks and stuff like that. That's huge. I think that's important. I think it's being able to show, create this culture of vaccinations are okay, and then we start getting that culture, that community that you were talking about. And maybe
even further, maybe it's cool to get vaccinated. Maybe it's my public persona went up. I got everybody, not like, just like as you say, one time when I was a kid, smoking was cool. It was cool. I didn't ever smoke, but a lot of people I knew did, just because it was cool. And somewhere along the way, it became not cool. To your generation, it's not cool. People don't go, yeah, I wish I had the balls to smoke. Sorry, I wish I had the cojones to smoke here. I'm just Mr. James Dean, rebel without a cause.
How do folks find you? What is your website?
Us? Oh yeah, so
we got to wrap up here. Sorry, I'm going on here.
MaskHeroesInitiative.com.
I see. So just spell out the whole thing.
Yeah, so it's MaskHeroesInitiative.com.
Well, I'm sorry I got wound up on some of this, but I think that there is definitely a discussion that we all need to have of how we move, how we go from, as Dr. Trihn said, those who wanted it to those who are hesitant and don't understand, to that final group that doesn't want it. Do we shame them? Do we make it cool? Do we bribe them? Do we give them incentives? And in the end, do we create some sort of barriers to moving around society, either the businesses or the government? I don't know. What do you think, Dr. Trihn? Is it going to get to that, or are you still hopeful we're going to get most of these people convinced and on board?
It's a little bit of everything. And so as we continue this discussion, we're going to continue to work with Mask Hero Initiative as they are leading the charge to bridge this gap, and we appreciate them.
Well, you guys are my hero today here. You've done what few have done, I haven't done. Picked up, put your money where your mouth is, and gone out and made a difference at a moment when most of you were just focusing on your school and your careers and yourselves, to show that you care about the community and can make an impact and make an immediate difference. Like you said, oh my God, we can do something. We can all do something. Give us again, how do we reach you at Masked? I got to say it right, Mask Initiative.
Initiative.com. I got it on our Facebook chat group text here. So.
And is there anything coming up quickly? And then we got to go. Anything? And is there another fundraiser round or something immediately coming up, or is it all in the works?
Yeah, so right now we're having our Mother's Day fundraiser. Again, if you want to get something for Mom on Mother's Day, we have our link to our Seeds Candies fundraiser. So please check that out and stay tuned for more.
Okay.
Another thing, month of June, we're doing a Juneteenth fundraiser. We'll be showcasing a Black-owned business for every day of the week. If that's something you want to check out, be able to support some cool local businesses in Southern California, be sure to check out our Instagram as well, at Mass Heroes.
Okay.
Awesome.
Well, we'll have to come back, Dr. Trihn, because I've whipped up a hornet's nest here when I talk about who has the burden of proof here to to push can we push that final group into compliance, or are we going to just, is it a question of the carrot and the stick? Do we have to beat them a little bit and then we have to bribe them a little bit to take your medicine? We'll have to talk about that, because I think that's really where society's headed here. I think we're going to have to face that soon.
Back on sometime soon, guys.
Yeah.
Give us an update.
Sounds like a plan. Thank you guys for the engaging
All right, take us out,
Thank
Dr.
you so
Trihn.
much.
Take us out.
All right, guys. Have a great day, and Mass Hero Initiatives. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, there you have it, guys. One more example of why we have health talks each and every week, right here in Orange County's only community radio station, OCTalkRadio.net.